poster. I would like to extend particular welcome to Councillor Clark and Councillor Holland de la Mare. Your first time here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the experience. Right, item 1, apologies for absence and appointment of substitute members, please.
We have apologies from Councillors Charles Manners, Catherine Russell and Andre Gonzalez de Savage.
Okay, thank you. Have any members got any declarations of interest in the matter posted on this agenda? Okay, that would be no. The minutes of this meeting that was held on the 21st of May are to follow. Chairman's announcement. Under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulation 2014, members of the public or those party to the meeting are permitted to film, broadcast or report on the meeting subject to the efficient running of the meeting not being affected. Only those people who have registered in line with the committee's speaking procedure can address the committee. Those speakers are not permitted to ask questions of either members or officers. Members of the public are requested not to call out during the committee's decisions on any items. All speakers will have 5 minutes in which to make their statement. Participants addressing the planning committee will be advised when they have 60 seconds of their allotted time remaining, and they will be expected to cease talking immediately on being advised that their time is up. Speakers may be asked to remain seated after they have addressed the committee to answer questions from the planning committee members. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm does sound, the evacuation instructions will be given by a democratic officer on the end, and the assembly point is the bottom of the steps on the mount, which is the green hill out to the south of the building. Could electronic devices please be switched off or onto silent mode? For those members using laptops, could I ask that they press F1 on their machines and the blue light will come on indicating that the sound is muted. This meeting is being broadcast on the council's corporate YouTube channel. Therefore, when speaking, please use your microphone. For the benefit of those watching on the YouTube channel, I'll introduce the top table. On my far right is Diana Davis of Democratic Services. Next to me is Catherine Hall from Legal. On my left is Simon Ellis, who's Head of Planning. And next to him is Nissan Mogul, who's the planning officer to present this afternoon. So with no delay, we'll move on to item 5, which is the land in Kilsby. And I call upon Officer Mogul to present this to us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The application before members. Sorry.
Bring the microphone nearer to you.
Sorry.
Not on share screen. Meeting.
Perhaps we need to turn the camera option up on the back panel. We're doing that.
Don't get a share screen.
That's fine. Here, it's that one's longer.
Oh.
That's activating the camera at the back.
How do I see my presentation? Yeah, that's what I have done.
So deactivate the camera. I can't see what you're pointing at.
Yeah, should be able to. Yeah.
Come up on that one.
There you go.
Is that okay now?
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, Chair.
Done.
Right. The application before members is for the construction of a solar farm to generate 49.9 megawatts of energy and associated infrastructure, including CCTV, landscaping, and biodiversity enhancement. Sorry, thank you. So this is the site location plan. The site is approximately 1.1 kilometers to the west of the village of Kilsby, and approximately 1.2 kilometers to the northwest of the actual application site. The red edge goes along two parcels of land. This is the main parcel of land, which is to be referred to as parcel A. This is Kilsby Road, running along adjacent to the triangular field, which will be referred to as parcel B. The site is actually accessed off the Kilsby Road, which is here, and the one nearest to A5, there's an access nearest to the A5, which will be for parcel B, and the other access will be further up, which will be further up from Kilsby Road and near the M1 overbridge area. Through the middle of the site, actually, I'll move on to this one. There is along here, there is a public footpath, EW2, and there are grade 2 ventilation tunnels, both to the western and the eastern areas of the site, circa 400 to 500 meters away. And this here is the A5 Watling Street, Roman Road, which is scheduled ancient monument, circa 50 meters from the site area itself. To the southwestern boundary of the south parcel A, around here, we have just on the other side of the A5, that there are a group of dwellings which include Fieldview Cottage and Kilsby Grange. Sticking to the aerial view, here we have the M1, we've got the M45 running along here, and the A5, which runs along there. And this is the Kilsby, village of Kilsby and Crick, like I said earlier. This plan shows the layout of the ground-mounted solar panels. Parcel A to the north of the site proposes 70,044 solar panels, whilst this triangular bit proposes 6,868 solar panels. So the total number of solar panels are 76,912. This is the landscaping plan. Majority of the landscaping within the site is current and to be retained. The area that's going to be pretty well enhanced is the western boundary along here. Currently, there is fairly exposed views to the A5 along here and to the properties. However, the landscaping plan seeks to address the screening of this area. This is just the panel array details. The panels are ground mounted and are a maximum of 3 meters in height and laid out with a separation distance of between 4 and 11 meters. This is the substation elevations, circa 3.5 meters in height, 7 meters in length, and 4 meters in depth. This is the control house elevations. It is 3 meters in height and is circa 6 meters by 3 meters. These are the storage container elevations. These are 2.6 meters in height. The CCTV proposed on the site will be 3 meters in height as well. The weather station will have a maximum height of 4 meters. And the inverter transformer details, as can be seen, are 3 meters in height, 6 meters in length by 2.4 meters. The security fencing is between 2 meters and 2.4 meters in height. And the fence and gate details are 2 meters in height and has deer fencing with small mammal gaps along the way, spread out sort of thing. This is basically the construction compound details. This will be sited on parcel A from the just next to the adjacent to the access road into the site. We just have now sort of this is the existing and proposed access to parcel B, which is the triangular element, quite close to the A5 as you come off the A5 onto Kilsby Road. This picture shows the existing access to parcel A nearest to A5 junction. However, this is proposed to be closed. And the access will be further up towards the bridge, M1 overbridge. So this is the second access, which is nearer to up the Kilsby Road, nearer to the overbridge. This access is proposed to be widened as part of the proposal. So this is the view from A5 with the junction of Kilsby Road. And again, a view sort of down the A5, and you can see the junction here of the Kilsby Road. Here we can see view just off the Kilsby Road towards the A5, which is just here. And this is parcel B entrance, and this is the one that's going to be closed off to parcel A. And just got some views from Kilsby Road. You can see from this one, it is from Kilsby Road, southwest. It's fairly well screened all the way along. Just more views into the northwest of the site, to the south, to east, southeast views, and to the southwest, and views to the northeast of the site, and this is to the northwest. Basically, views to the west of the site and northeast. Overall, the proposal is deemed to be acceptable from the local and national highways points of view, visual and residential amenity, impact on heritage assets, and with regards to the biodiversity net gain, it is considered to be over 10%. But there will be a condition in the landscape ecology management plan that requires details of maintenance for a period of 30 years. Sorry. There have been no objections from any consultees. However, Crick Parish Council have objected on highway safety grounds and required temporary speed restrictions along the Kilsby Road during the construction stage of the solar farm. And this will be a part of a condition in the construction management plan that is required to be submitted. They have also requested that temporary speed reductions should be put into place on the A5 near the approach to Kilsby Road. There are discussions between the applicants and the National Highways, who basically have not objected to the proposal, subject to requiring a condition with a construction management plan to be submitted. There being no objections from any residential dwellings, however, 5 letters of support were received. An additional condition is to be included in as per the addendum that requires this type, size and of the species of trees and hedgerows proposed as part of the landscaping scheme. So there was some comments from Crick Parish Council following additional information that was provided, and the parish, where the parish did maintain their objections on highway grounds, highway safety grounds. Again, National Highways initially raised concerns regarding the left turn into Kilsby Road from the A5, as did the Crick Parish Council. The applicant has proposed additional mitigation measures should members feel it to be necessary. There were 3 options, but the option best suited to this and put forward by the applicant is a temporary part-time traffic lights at the junction that could be used to safely hold traffic back on Kilsby Road when the HGV vehicles are turning into and out of the junction. These would be controlled by operatives or alternately traffic marshals with powers to control traffic could be used to stop, could use the stop-go signage. With regards to other requests by the parish council, they had concerns with the right-hand turn into parcel B, and they said this should be prohibited. However, this has been demonstrated to be safe by highways officers and is acceptable. However, the applicants have indicated that they can accept this restriction if it is deemed to be necessary. The next concern by the parish was the left-hand turns out of parcel B, and they proposed that this should be prohibited. Again, it's been demonstrated to be safe and it's acceptable. However, again, applicants have indicated that they would be happy to accept this restriction if deemed to be necessary. The third concern from the parish was that parcel A should act as an inbound delivery point. Smaller vehicles only should access parcel B. Again, both these accesses have been deemed to be acceptable from a highways point of view. However, the applicants again, would accept this restriction if it was deemed to be necessary. Overall, it is recommended to members that the application be approved, subject to the conditions in the officer's report. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Officer Mogul. Thank you for that presentation. It's now a chance for members to ask questions of the officer before we have the speakers, but I do emphasise questions, not debate. I'll go first. Is there I may have missed it in your presentation, is there a separate compound in A and B, or are they going to deliver to one then transfer it?
As far as I know, it's only in parcel A.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, members, question. Councillor Pritchard, please.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to the solar panels themselves, will, when you look at the pasture land that's there, will in fact sheep be able to graze there underneath the solar panels?
Through Chair. Yes, I've been led to believe sheep can graze between the panels.
Right. And my second question is, you did mention during the presentation that there was a 30-year period. On 3.1, it states a 40-year period.
Through Chair, the 30-year period is for the biodiversity net gain. The condition says we should have maintenance for up to 30 years.
So the 40-year is a period that in fact it could produce solar energy.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Any more? Councillor Humphreys, please.
Thank you. As myself and Councillor Chantler are all councillors of this area, we know this road very well, and I'm sure Crick Parish Council will be pleased to hear of the additional steps applicants prepared to have imposed to address their very legitimate concerns about the danger of that junction. But what you've described in addition won't hold the traffic or reduce the speed of traffic on the A5, will it? Are there any measures that might address that, or is
Yeah.
that just
No,
that's
no.
been accepted by National Highways? So
Sorry.
yeah.
Richard?
Anyway, if you could elaborate on that, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. National Highways are actually have raised no concerns with regards to any measures that need to be sort of implemented on the A5 itself. So therefore, the measures taken on Kilsby Road with regards to the restricted speed limits and the other bits and bobs I sort of mentioned will be what will not, those measures will not cause any harm to A5 or the traffic on the A5. So, but there are no measures specifically for A5.
Any more questions before we move on to the speakers? Okay, I'll call upon speaker to come down and the applicant, sorry, to come to the front and present it. So you have 5 minutes. I'll indicate when you've had 4 and encourage you to wrap up if you get that far. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, councillors. My name's Robert and I work in the development team of Altalia UK. We're the applicant and we're here today to seek approval for the installation and operation of our solar farm. We're an experienced renewable energy developer and power producer, and unlike a lot of promoters, we build, own and operate our own sites. This means we make long-term commitments to every community in which we operate, and we pride ourselves on being considerate neighbours. I'd just like to start by outlining some of the benefits of the project. The proposals will provide reliable and low-cost renewable energy sufficient to power over 14,000 houses. This is approximately 8% of all the houses in West Northamptonshire. This would provide a CO2 displacement of approximately 35,000 tonnes a year when compared to the generation of fossil fuels, which is equivalent to removing 5,500 cars from the road driving 15,000 miles a year. The delivery of this project is not only beneficial to the climate, it directly contributes to our national energy security, reducing our reliance on energy imports and making our energy system more stable and more affordable. This is a key enabler of both economic stability and clean growth. Our landscaping proposals retain and enhance all existing vegetation at the site, other than some minor hedgerow removal at the site accesses, and new planting is provided throughout. This includes over 1 kilometre of new native hedgerow, around 100 new native trees, wildflower meadows and species-rich grasslands. Biodiversity net gain is 77% in habitat units and 127% in hedgerow units, so 10 times the mandatory requirements. The proposals include many other measures to promote local wildlife, which aren't included in these figures, such as log piles for invertebrates and hedgehogs, hibernacular for reptiles, and 26 boxes for bats, birds, owls, and dormice. The proposals include a new permissive footpath down the western side of the site, which will link Kilsby Road with the footpath to the north. There's currently no pavement along the A5 in this location, and so this provides a safer alternative for walkers and improves linkages between local villages. Alongside the stewardship of the site for biodiversity, the project sustains the rural economy by enabling sheep to continue to graze the site. This ensures that the land remains productive and multifunctional and provides opportunities for local farmers to diversify their income. This in turn makes them more resilient to the adverse effects of climate change, which coupled with high energy prices is significantly impacting the viability of their businesses. In terms of other economic benefits, at least 50 full-time jobs will be created during construction, and we're committed to employing, contracting and sourcing equipment locally. For the last project we built of this size, we awarded around £3 million in contracts in the authority area, including 800,000 within 25 miles of the site. All of these benefits are provided at a time of declared climate emergency, biodiversity decline, low economic growth, and a cost of living crisis fueled by high energy prices. Whilst the benefits of the projects are clear, we do understand that this is a large piece of infrastructure in a rural area. As you all know, solar farms cannot be located anywhere. They can only be located where there's capacity on our increasingly constrained electricity network. In this case, we have an agreement with the district network operator to export all of the energy into the existing pylon situated within the southern part of our site. We went through an extensive site selection process, which is set out in full within our planning application, and the suitability of this site is demonstrated through the technical assessments. Where concerns were raised during determination, we listened, and we've worked constructively with the council and all local stakeholders to refine and improve the project. The result is that the proposal before you has no objections from your officers or statutory consultees, and we've demonstrated public support through the comments on the planning file. We feel that this position not only speaks to the suitability of the site, but also to the success of our design, assessment, and public consultation processes. In terms of the comments raised by Crick Parish Council, we've sought to address their concerns, and we responded directly to the parish following consultation with the highways authorities. Neither of these consultees, that's National Highways or the Local Highways Authority, are objecting. We welcome Councillor Humphrey's support. With further discussions with Crick, there are additional measures which could be applied, which I'm happy to take questions on. In summary, the proposal before you offers a multitude of benefits. It represents a forward-thinking and sustainable development which aligns with local and national objectives for renewable energy production
1 minute to go.
and environmental stewardship. Impact considerations are fully addressed and a comprehensive package of mitigation is secured. As your officer has explained, the proposal accords with the development plan and national planning policy, and there are no adverse impacts which outweigh the benefits. On this basis, we very much hope you'll support the officer's recommendation and enable us to progress the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain. If you want to remain seated, and we can take questions from, yes, Councillor Chalmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation and for the documentation that accompanied the application. I think it's probably true that most local people accept the need for renewable energy and that solar farms is a good way forward. My concern about this particular project is clearly to do with the construction traffic. So first of all, can I have clarification from you that there is no intent to take the largest HGVs into parcel B?
So we set all of this out in the planning application. The main, and it was applied for, that HGVs could access parcel B from Kilsby Road and making that right turn. That was demonstrated in the planning application as safe. Local Highways Authority, National Highways have no problem with that turn. Now, the main delivery point for equipment into the site is parcel A. That's because 80% of the infrastructure is located in there. There is no reason, and indeed we've already made this commitment in our construction traffic management plan, to unload equipment into parcel A and transfer it onto smaller vehicles to deliver it into parcel B. There's no reason why we can't do that. You would then transfer it from parcel A along Kilsby Road, turn left into parcel B, unload, turn right back out of parcel B into parcel A, turn around and go back out again. So it's completely feasible from a technical perspective for us to do that. It was just sought to have the flexibility to enter that parcel from Kilsby Road. And we discussed this with local highways and national highways, who confirmed that those arrangements were safe and acceptable.
Thank you. That was my understanding. Clearly, the largest of those vehicles are going to have some difficulty negotiating the junction from the A5 back into Kilsby Road because it turns back on itself. Do you have experience of other projects which have had this kind of difficulty, and have you managed to manage them? And have you learned from that experience? Because clearly we're very concerned indeed about these huge vehicles coming out of Kilsby Road onto the A5.
Yes, we have experience. We've built 35 solar farms in the UK in the last 12 years, all of which are, invariably located in rural areas, and we always have these access constraints to work with. The transport assessment is always provided on a worst case. So the sweat path analysis that Crick Parish Council are looking at and concerned about is based on the largest possible vehicle that could come to site. That's a 16.5 metre articulated lorry. There is always scope to bring equipment on smaller vehicles, and it's always something we look at. In terms of the specifics here, the left turn from the A5 into Kilsby Road is one of Crick Parish Council's main concerns. It requires a vehicle making that corner to cross the centre line and be in the other side of the road. The mitigation which I suggested to the case officer, which could be applied, which is something we discussed with National Highways and the Local Highways Authority, would be to have a temporary traffic light further west along Kilsby Road. That would allow you to hold back traffic heading eastbound on Kilsby Road while the HGV made that turn. You could then safely release it, and there would be no issue there. Now, that wasn't secured because it wasn't felt by the highways authorities that it was necessary, but it's something we suggested could be implemented should it give additional reassurance to,
Yeah, I'm pleased to hear that, because just an ordinary car trying to make that turn, if there's a car coming out of Kilsby Road, makes it very difficult. And unless you stop that traffic coming towards the A5 while you're doing your manoeuvres, it's going to be a problem. But it sounds as though you've got it on time. You'll realise that our concerns are solely with the construction traffic, that the operation of a solar farm is something we encourage. In fact, where I live, there's one already, so we're coping with that. Thank you.
Sorry, was it? Yes, Councillor Pritchard, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Something that we've experienced in the past, particularly, and I'm sure you've obviously thought about this, but just confirmation, is that when we've actually looked at some solar power projects, is in fact the local authority or even National Grid is accepting the power that's generated from here, particularly when it was with regards to Western Power, they were actually unable to accept some of the solar panel energy that we actually was produced in some other projects.
Okay, so in this instance, we have a grid connection agreed with Western Power, now National Grid, to export directly into the 132 kV pylon in the site. That grid connection is in place. So should the planning application get approved, then we will proceed with that grid connection.
Thank you, because one of the problems they had was actually producing the equipment that actually that the energy went into, and they were talking about 2 or 3 years supply. But obviously, you've obviously thought about that anyway.
Yeah, there are always infrastructure upgrades required as a result of the connections made by these projects to the line and sometimes downstream on the connection network. Our projects pay for those as part of the grid connection agreement, and that's all scoped and set out in the works agreed with Western Power.
Yes, Councillor Clark, thank you.
2 questions. One is, what's the timescale of the project? And the second one, are you aligned to consider it contractor?
In terms of the timescales for the project, they are driven by the grid connection agreement. We'd always build up to that grid connection. It's always subject to a little bit of uncertainty. Our working assumption is that we can make that connection in 2027. Once we get, should planning permission be issued, then we would engage with the grid companies and seek to bring that forward, essentially. But yeah, our working assumption is we connect in 2027 with a 6 to 9 month build up to the connection date. I think we are a registered considerate construction company. Yeah, as I mentioned, we build all of our own solar farms ourselves. It's our in-house EPC team. We've got 4 under construction at the moment, and we build for third parties as well, so that they're experienced, and yeah, it will be our staff at the site constructing the solar farm.
Thank you. Councillor Humphreys, please.
Thank you. I think it might be helpful for the committee if you could bit more detail about the temporary traffic order. I think you mentioned when I spoke to you that there would only be one HGV per a time going in and out of the site, and there'd be a phone in advance, etc. But I think a bit more detail might be helpful.
Yeah, before you answer, I mean, that's an excellent question, I think, for the benefit of all the committee.
Yeah.
I'd like to know exactly what we're signing up to, because I'm not
Yeah.
overly convinced yet. There seems to be lights, cars, lorries, speeds. I don't know. Can we tell us what we're actually signed up to? That'd be great, Mr. Chamberlain. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, all of the detail is set out in the planning application. And all of the measures will be secured through the construction traffic management plan. A few points to highlight. There'll be 5 HGVs per day across the 6-month construction period. If the construction period was to be longer, that would obviously be less. So the assessment is provided on a worst case. The assessment's based on the largest possible vehicles to provide a conservative assessment and deliberately overstate impacts, if you like. We've committed to temporary speed limits on Kilsby Road. That was a measure suggested by the local highways authority, West Northamptonshire Council, which we've accepted. That would be in place from the M1 overbridge to the A5 throughout construction. The exact speed limit is yet to be agreed, but it would be a reduction. It's currently a 60-mile-an-hour road, but it would be reduced, I suspect, down to 40 miles an hour. But that would be agreed with the Highways Authority during the discharge and condition process.
Okay, thank you.
There will be temporary signage in place, both on Kilsby Road and on the A5, warning of construction traffic turning. All HGVs are required to arrive and depart outside of peak hours. That's stipulated in the construction traffic management plan. And there will be a requirement for a booking system in place to make sure that no 2 HGVs can meet each other in the vicinity of the sites. There will be banksmen in place at both accesses, directing construction traffic in and out, and they'll be maintaining radio contact with drivers at all times. There are a multitude of measures which are set out in our construction traffic management plan. We've had extensive dialogue with National Highways and the local highways authorities about the access arrangements, and that they're demonstrated as safe and acceptable, and measures are proposed to be attached to the condition to provide that construction traffic management plan. It is a requirement of the permission.
Okay, I understand everything you said so far, but there was a mention of traffic lights. I wasn't quite sure where that came into it. Or was that just a proposal that was rejected?
That was proposed to National Highways. So there was some overlap between issues raised between Crick Parish Council, Local Highways Authority and National Highways. National Highways, the one comment they raised was about that left-hand turn from the A5 into Kilsby Road. We wrote to them setting out why we saw it was acceptable, and we outlined 3 different options should they consider additional mitigation be required. One of those options was to have a temporary traffic light on Kilsby Road, which would hold back traffic while HGVs made that turn. National Highways didn't consider that to be necessary, which is why we didn't propose and have it secured. What I'm saying today, and what I've said to your planning officer and Councillor Humphreys this morning, is that we would be happy to accept that should it provide additional comfort to the committee. It obviously goes above and beyond what was requested by the highways authorities, but it's something that we're more than happy to accept if there is concern over the safety of the access arrangements.
Okay, brilliant. That'll be for debate amongst ourselves. Thank you. Anybody else? A question? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain. Officer Mogul, do you want to come back on anything, or should we move into the debate?
No, I've got nothing to add.
Okay, thank you, officer. So we'll now move into debate, and I invite Councillor Chandler to start the debate, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, fellow members, I think it's clear to everybody that a solar farm of this size is a good idea, and this location is suitable partly because the land is available and partly because it's not actually very close to many residential properties, and modern solar farm panels are such that they don't cause a great deal of glare and reflection. And so from the point of view of let's have a solar farm, this sounds like a good idea. As you've been hearing, the significant problems we have are with the construction traffic. Those of us who use that road and that junction frequently, and I do several times a week, know that the difficulty of turning out of Kilsby Road into the A5, allowing for the fact that although the speed limit on the A5 is the national speed limit, 60 miles an hour, people don't tend to obey the speed limit, shall we say. They've emerged from Kilsby, for example, and they've been had restrictions on their speed, and they come out of there. I'm often found driving out of, still in the 30 mile an hour speed limit, I'm overtaken by very fast moving vehicles who are anticipating moving very quickly on that bit of the A5. So I am very concerned about the control of traffic on the A5 whilst these vehicles, which are described in the documentation as being 16.5 meters long, are trying to negotiate what is a hairpin bend. That is my big concern, and I would ask you to bear that in mind. I think that controlling the speed of the traffic on the A5 would be more than just a good idea, I think. But I know that as the local planning authority, we can't insist that that's done, but we could jolly well ask for it to be done and strengthen. That's what I'd like us to do. Controlling the traffic on the Kilsby Road with a temporary traffic light to stop vehicles whilst lorries are manoeuvring, that's a good idea, and I'm pleased to hear that development recently. So yeah, and that's the position of the local people who really do know and understand this site and the limitations associated with it. What you can't tell from looking at a map like that is that the Kilsby Road from Crick, just before you get to the M1 over bridge and then the A5, goes down in a huge dip and up the other side. And people sort of regard that as a sort of playground ride. You know, they zoom down there and up the top, and then they would suddenly find that the road was blocked. So we do need to do something about that. I'm not sure myself that putting the temporary speed restriction at the M1 overbridge is early enough when you're emerging from Crick, but I understand why it's to be done. So those are the thoughts of local people to help you in your consideration. I'm not trying to stop a solar farm. I'm just trying to make sure that it's safe. I don't fancy being a banksman standing in the A5 whilst I guide out a 16.5 meter HGV.
Yes, thank you, councillor. Also to make the point that further down, both at Watford and Long Buckby, there are other examples of restrictions to 50 mile an hour at what I'd call important junctions. So you wouldn't necessarily be setting a precedent. But I'd invite Councillor Humphreys as another ward councillor to join in, please.
Yes, thank you. Yes, well, I echo what Councillor Charlton's said. I think we should also, I completely agree, we should ask National Highways if they consider a speed restriction on the A5. The Kilsby Road speed will be, could be addressed by the temporary traffic lights, which would extremely welcome. I think we ought to also consider the applicants agreeing to meet Crick Parish Council's request to not have a right-hand turn into Plot B and a left-hand turn out of Plot B as well, as although that's been considered acceptable by the local Highway Authority. If they're agreed to meet that, I think that would give further reassurance to local people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchard, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a very, very credible application, particularly when you consider that it will actually provide 8% of some of the housing population, which I think is very, very commendable indeed. I also appreciate my colleagues' concerns with regards to the traffic, particularly with regards to reducing the speed limit along the particular roads. And also perhaps we should look at, some traffic light sort of control. Perhaps we could look at that with regards to putting that into the conditions. But when you think of it, it's a very, very credible application, and I think that it will provide an enormous amount of energy, and also environmentally will be very much concerns with regards to my colleagues.
Yes, thank you. So really to summarise, we're all in favour of the site itself. I think we have no issues with that. I just think we need to bottom out exactly which conditions or however it's going to be applied could make it a safer thing. Councillor Parker, do you want to move that microphone forward?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, listening to the applicant, I mean, I think I picked the figure up right. Hopefully I did. I think he said 5 HGVs per day, which is not a lot. Let's be honest about it. I understand the concerns of the parish councils on the traffic and things like that, because I think that's what it's about. But 5 HGVs a day is not astronomical by any stretch of the imagination. They're also going to be outside the rush hour. So hopefully the people coming down Kilsby Road will come down a bit slower than they did last week when I was there. They've got a booking in system and a banksman, so they're controlling that. The A5 60 to 40 seems very sensible, and putting some temporary lights on the Kilsby Road, if the applicant's, I think, willing to do that, so it stops that traffic, so the HGVs can swing round, seems absolutely sensible to me. So with those things, I mean, I would be happy to support the officer on this one. Thank you, Chair.
That's a proposal, I'm gathering.
Yes, that's a proposal. If you
Okay. Is anybody happy with that? We'll still room to us. Councillor Chandler, that's fine. Because at the end of the day, the speed limit will only be on the A5 for a temporary. I mean, we're talking circa 6 to 9 months. It's not going to be a permanent feature. And there may only be 5 lorries, but it needs one to have an accident, and I don't want to see that happen. Anybody got anything other than what we've discussed already, or any other suggestions? Sorry, I'll take Councillor Clark first. You've had one go, Councillor Humphrey.
With the traffic lights obviously only being required potentially for 10 turns, will they be manually and won't be like continual traffic lights that will sequence all through the 8-hour or 10-hour shift?
That's a good question, because if you look at things like HS2 construction, they're just used when they're needed, as opposed to being a permanent annoyance. I mean, I'm not gathering this, but I can see a certain Mr. Chamberlain in the back of the room nodding. I take that as yes, they would manually look after them, Councillor Clark. Yes.
And secondly, the considerate contractor. That's a guidance that most sites take, and it allows anybody local with the construction works who it affects, and that they've got a point of contact.
Yep, that's a good point. Councillor Humphrey, sorry.
Just wanting to ensure we go through the additional conditions in the construction management plan, because I mean the temporary traffic light isn't part of it at the moment, as I understand. Yeah.
Yes, I mean we'll itemise each one so we know what we're trying to do. So before we do that, any more points somebody wants to make? Right. So the proposal before us is to accept officers' recommendations, and I believe add to it if you can. So a temporary 50-mile-an-hour restriction on the A5. There's already going to be a temporary on the Kilsby Road, which will be 40 or whatever.
Chair, it could be 40. I
Yeah, I'm
think.
saying it could be 40 or whatever, but that hasn't been decided yet. But our recommendation would be 40, I guess, because you bring it down to 60. So the next on the list was the remind me, Kevin. So we've done the A5, we've done Kilsby Road. There's the traffic lights to restrict the traffic approaching that junction, which is on a manual operation by the site itself. Anything else, Councillor Humphries? I'm looking to you now.
Well, the Crick Parish Council was concerned about the right-hand turn into plot B, which I think I'm right in saying the applicant was prepared to meet. Yeah. Yeah, and
Left hand.
parcel A to be the for all HGVs to go parcel A.
Right.
Yeah.
Happy, are we all happy with that? And I can see the two men to the left and he's scribbling away rapidly.
Chair,
Yes, Councillor Chalmers.
I just wanted to be clear that everybody's clear that the restriction on the right-hand turn into parcel B should only apply to the largest HGVs, not to all vehicles.
Yeah. Yes, I think the transit vans will be allowed to do that. Officer Mogul, how do you feel about where we've got to so far?
Sounds all reasonable to me. I think we can accept those changes.
You happy, Simon?
Yes, Chair. I mean, I think if you look at condition 7 recommended on page 41, I think those themes are covered in there. So the applicant's heard everything that you've said. I think what they could do is put those measures in the construction traffic management plan that needs to be approved prior to commencement. And within that, we have to consult the Highway Authority for the trunk road. So
Yes.
that would be National Highways and see what they say about that.
But all the rest of it lies on our control, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
With the local
the
highways
applicant
authority.
puts it forward through the revised construction management plan, and then it would be approved as part of a discharge of condition, subject to what they've picked up, what you've said.
But the only disadvantage we could have is National Highways didn't.
If National
along
Highways
with that.
turned around and said, in
No.
no way is there going to be a temporary speed limit on the A5, then there can't be a temporary speed limit on the A5 because that's their highway. So that's the only, you don't have full control over
No.
that, but you can put it forward
That's our
and we can
wish.
ask them to adjudicate.
Yes, Catherine, please join in.
Thank you, Chair. That was my only other issue, was the control issue of which, local highways authority versus the National Highways Authority. And we will have distinct powers in that respect. And while we can, dutifully go back and ask a very fair question, we can't require National Highways to say yes or no to, a particular position. So that's the caveats there on that respect, but it can certainly be a part of discussions under condition 7. I don't think that's the discussion, entering into the discussion is achievable. Whether National Highways then concur is a matter to be seen.
And I think as a part of our application, the fact that there's a restriction at Kilsby, next down is Watford, next down is Long Buckby, going down the A5. It's not as though we're asking for something in the middle of nowhere. It's in a sequence of restricted junctions. So that could be part of our application, I believe. So taking all that into consideration, those in favour, please show accordingly. That's unanimous. Thank you for that. I have no urgent business. So at 2:53, I declare the meeting closed and thank you all for your attendance.